How's it going? This is the other reaction video as promised, where we're gonna go through all of Modest Buzelis' relevant possessions in this game and break them down. We did one for Ron Holland already that you should check out if you haven't. That should be up first, I think. But let's get into it. I have not seen this. We're just gonna go through my thought process as I'm watching, scouting this game. We're gonna talk about Modest. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. Your support is very important. Let's try to get to, I don't know, maybe like 50, 60 likes. I don't really do like goals. I don't know how that works. But Modest is going to start this with a catch and shoot three. Pretty good shooter I keep want to say pre-college, pre-ignite. And the shot, I think, is going to be a strength of his. I think this was a play we had in the other one where Ron miscommunicates here. I'm definitely not putting that one on Modest for sticking to the shooter. Here we see an interesting little drive here. Okay, there's definitely going to be quite a bit to break down on this play. The first is going to be the advantage creation. As Modest gets like a minimal advantage, he's a little stiff and high as a handler, and he's not super bursty. And he gets in kind of a stuck situation here, but good job reading the contest midair, finding an out. But it's never good to see guys like get stuck in midair like that, but he does end up finding it out, so I give him credit. Nice rotation there. I think Modest's defense has always been kind of underrated. This is his job as the low man, to be in position early, get his hands up, and then rely on his teammates to make plays and rotate, which unfortunately does not happen there. Nice job reacting to the, or I think he kind of gets fooled a little bit, but tries to recover. And unlike Ron Holland, he does not have elite recovery tools. So his positioning has to be more precise, because when he mispositions, he's not quick or fast or long or strong or explosive enough to get back and make a big play on the ball. And there we see a nice play where I really like this rotation here. He's physical, going up for a contest, but ultimately just not explosive enough to really make an impact there. And I believe that ended up being called a foul. Good box out there for the rebound. I think he gets tripped there, and we see him turn the ball over, unfortunately. This handling pressure is going to be a big issue with him. Just gets a guy in his chest and totally gets ripped, which is something that's going to happen for young players, especially ones who aren't natural point guards. Or obviously Modest has been handling for a while, and the handling flashes have been there, but he's not like a point guard, especially in terms of handling. But the defense is looking nice in this game so far. Nice job digging here at the nail. He's going to be great providing help in this middle paint area, or middle top paint area, with his great length. And I think his instincts and timing on these kind of plays are pretty solid as well from the games I have seen him play throughout the years. A simple like fake scheme assist right there, which is, again, is the why we watch the tape, because not all assists are treated and created equal. Pretty nice possession here for most of it for Modest. Let's try to break this down. I like the stunt and like the contest here at the nail. I wish he would maybe go a little harder for the ball, but he does end up cutting this drive off, which is good. This is the one where I wanted him to go harder, right? Looking at maybe instead of getting your hand in there, which is like very comfortable, it's easy, you might pick up a ticky-tack foul, but more valuable is to slide down and to get into that driving lane. But it's hard, especially when you have a team like Ignite that is consistently such like a defensive disaster, which makes sense since you're cycling in new young players every year. And whew, that was nice. One thing that Modest is going to be able to do is handle against bigs, and he definitely has the deceptive handle and the creativity to beat slower-footed, taller bigs, which he will get matched up with sometimes because he is like a skinnier, more perimeter-oriented player, obviously. But because Modest is tall, he's just going to find himself in those situations, like he is here as a low-man defender once again. Doesn't have the greatest ground coverage, but like it's not good that it's not like a glowing like resumation on your defense. That's definitely not a word. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it's not great if the guy who's like your primary low man is like solely responsible, and there's just this guy is nowhere to be found. But good awareness and like early instinct there for Modest, making rotations, and a great block in transition there. We see him get up off of two, time that ball well, fingertip block right there. Modest, I think, has some interesting rim protection upside, just if nothing else with that positioning. Oh my lord, that was nice. Yeah, Modest has some like he has like a Kyle Anderson handle kind of where it's like slow and deceptive with this like looping high behind the back. Like it's not great to have the ball out at shoulder height basically ever. And then the pace here, really great. Like fake the pickup. He stands up like he's gonna shoot and then gets back down, and that ends up being a goaltend. That's like the crafty secondary handler stuff that makes Modest intriguing as like a top 5, top 6 type pick. I don't think he really has like the primary initiator level upside, but there is some secondary stuff in terms of creating with pace, and if the shooting can develop, if he can become any bit of like a pull-up shooting threat, that would obviously be really great. Gets a little bit stuck on the screen there, and we talked about his stiffness. Another contrast to Ron Holland, who is incredible sticking around screens. Modest definitely struggles and is less capable of staying. This is a great example clip of why like handling slash advantage creation and passing are so interlinked, where Modest sees like the corner rotation here and is able to make the pass, but there's no advantage created because the help doesn't have to move. Modest is kind of slow, stiff. He doesn't get an angle on this defender, and therefore this help defender can stay cozy in the passing lane and doesn't have to really give up his position to cover Modest. And even though Modest like has the vision to make that pass, there isn't just a ton of value there. And even though the pass isn't working, would love for him to go for this contest a little bit more aggressively, but again, just very poor primary pick and roll defense as well, which is important to remember when we're watching games. It's like defense especially is not played in a vacuum, and a lot of defensive mistakes and defensive like good plays can be explained by scheme, can be explained by the play and the positioning of teammates, as we're seeing a lot in this one. And that was the ridiculous Ron Holland block from last time. Good job here stepping up and filling this gap, but it's so much of like of Modest running around everywhere trying to do everything himself, where he is again the primary low man here, and yet no one is running out to contest here. This should be one of the guards. This should be number 30 here, running out to contest. And man, this is, I didn't mean to turn this into like a G League Ignite defense slander video. I'm trying not to be that one guy who just like screams at film and is wrong very loudly. But point being, defensive scheme is important for evaluating prospects, is the point that I'm trying to get across. Let's see what Modest can pull off in ISO. And that was, oh my lord. I think that's Ibu Baji, who's like one of the most freakish, like length size guys. But again, we see him not creating space, but is able to bump with the shoulder. Good job using strength to get lane with the floater. And I don't know if that was a goaltend. I think that might have just been a ridiculous block. But we've seen some of the advantage creation issues with Modest, some of the problems with asking him to be a primary ball handler. Again, screen nav issues. He's lucky that his man missed a wide open 3. That's wide open. The reaction time wasn't fast enough. And again, like we said before, the recovery tools are not good enough to make up for consistently poor, or not consistently poor, but just poor positioning in general. Modest attacking off the catch. This is interesting. I think he ended up drawing a foul here, but I want to pay attention to how he's moving. Good job being fairly decisive, pump and go. This is great flexibility where he's getting his torso closer to parallel that he doesn't display on most of his drives, and that helps him get right to the front of the rim. And yeah, he definitely gets fouled there. But it's good to see these flashes of athletic ability. And it's important to remember that like just like skill and shooting, like athleticism isn't 100% consistent. Like a player isn't the same athlete on every single play. Even if the player has the ability to jump really high or to be really flexible on drives, that doesn't mean they're going to do it every single play, even in areas where they should. Like great shooters don't make every shot. Great handlers don't create separation every time. And I think that's something I try to remember with athleticism, is just like how consistent is Modest with it. And this is another good example of his great coordination mobility for a 6'10", 6'11 guy. There's not a lot of speed or explosion, but there is a lot of finesse here, as very agile athletic positioning here. The bump euro is one of my favorite moves in basketball, using like your shoulder to bump this guy's leverage off of you when defenders like turn and chase instead of being disciplined in their slide like this defender does right here. So Modest takes advantage, throws him off foot, offhand finish. It's good stuff. He's a really interesting, like, crafty forward. We see him getting beat off of the dribble, or he's just not the quickest guy in terms of lateral speed. Great rotation by Tyler Smith, though, and I think Modest might have got that block there. I talked about Tyler Smith in the Ron Holland video, and I do love Tyler Smith. I might have to make a video of him at some point. Modest, despite his strength, is really solid at finding blocks from these like compromised positions where he's being pushed backwards, just because of how long he is. Like, if you gave Ron Holland Modest's length, he'd be like the perfect defensive prospect. But Modest is really good at using that length, and Buzelis is able to get blocks that way. Another turnover, almost, versus pressure. These young ball handlers and I mean basically all, tend to struggle versus pressure. Good job just